All right. Hello to anyone that is watching on YouTube. This is the premier podcast. It's going to be the number one podcast in the world. Zach and Alex. Obviously, that's might be a bit of a far stretch, but me and Zach here are two avid football fans that, like everyone else, are under lockdown. It's a bleak time for all of us. So we thought, well, why not? Since Saturdays are now empty, they're just meaningless other days like the weekdays. We might as well talk about football as we can't watch any. So me and Zach are very good university friends that do study broadcast journalism at UE. So we thought, well, why not? Let's start talking about football for 20 minutes, half an hour, something like that, Zach.
Yeah, exactly. I'm thinking just go through the things we want to talk about, how long they take, just chat away and see what we're left with.
Yeah, just got what three topics
Yeah.
that we picked today, and these are today. Zach, go through them.
We're going to discuss what team we'd like to see on Amazon or Netflix as a documentary. So things like the Sunderland documentary we've seen, or the Spurs documentary that's also been around. Also, we're going to discuss the Premier League team of the season so far. Obviously, this season hasn't finished yet. We don't know what's going to happen with our Premier League season, but we're going to talk about our Premier League team of choice. You can probably guess which one we're probably going to talk about the most, but we'll get to that. And we're also going to talk about potential players that we would like to see play for England next year, especially now that the Euros has been pushed forward to 2021. So I think, Alex, we should just get straight into it, give the people something to listen to, something that's going to give them a bit of entertainment, half an hour or so. Let's start with the question that seems the most obvious, but we can probably have a good chat about is the Premier League team of the season so far. You start off.
Now, right, so let's go from goalkeeper up to strikers. Okay.
Okay.
So my goalkeeper, quite uncontroversially, but I try to be different with this team. You know, I try to be out. It's quite hard to when a team is however many points clear of the top, 25 points clear of the top, whatever it is. So I have gone for Alisson. That is mainly because my thought process behind it was the fact that whenever Adrian, has been in this season, they have looked very shaky. Needed quite a few goals. You saw against Atletico Madrid. I know it's not a Premier League match, but how shaky and vulnerable they look at the back. When Alisson's in, he just calms everything down. He plays it out from the back. So certain. So I'm going to go for Alisson as my goalkeeper. Back.
Yeah, I think I'm going to have to probably agree with you there. He is the best goalkeeper in the Premier League at the moment. He even though he had that injury early on in the season, I think he's still contention for Golden Glove. I'm pretty sure. I mean, of course, Edison could quite easily go in there. Very, very competent goalkeeper. Probably Man City's saving grace throughout this, especially with Laporte getting injured, their main defender. But I am going to go with Alisson. Liverpool have struggled in the games when they haven't had him, just showing the sort of impact he's had. So yeah, for goalkeeper, it was quite an easy choice for me. I wasn't going to pick someone like Kepa, who hasn't really had the best season, or Lloris, who again is struggling to keep clean sheets. So Alisson for me.
Okay, right. So now we're going to move on to my back four. I've got it written down here, so just throw out any wild and.
Well, are we going back five? Are we?
I'm going back four, but you can go back five if you want.
Oh, back four. No, back four's easier. Back four's easier.
So I've got as my back four. I've got it. Disclaimer: it's going to be a very Liverpool-orientated defence.
Yeah, I think it has to be. They are the team of the season, aren't they?
It just feels a bit boring, but you can't not. So I've got Trent, I've got Van Dijk, but as the other centre back, I've got Söyüncü for Leicester.
Yeah.
And I've got Robertson as left back. So obviously I'll go through reasons. Trent Alexander-Arnold just he's unbelievable, isn't he? Like defensively, I think he's definitely improved in the last couple of years. Assists, his assists is crazy. Like from all over the right hand side, all different types. Like his crosses, it's fantastic, and he's a joy to watch, and he's someone that and get onto that later. Virgil van Dijk, I mean, it's quite obvious, isn't it? He's so calm, so composed,
Yeah.
so everything on the ball.
Nearly won the Ballon d'Or, didn't he? Nearly grabbed that.
He's just a machine at the end of the day, and you can't not go for someone with his pedigree this season. Yeah, and I've got Sionku, and it's a bit of a tricky one this season because Leicester, obviously, they started so incredibly well, and they got however many points at the start of the season. Looked fantastic. Obviously, before the Premier League stopped, Leicester experienced a little bit of bad form, like here and there. I think they lost 4 in 6 games in a little period, and then a few other games here and there. But overall, Leicester being third, obviously the other top 6 aren't having great seasons, but Leicester being third is a fantastic achievement. And every time I've watched them this season, Sionku is fantastic. He's commanding the defence. Him and Evans are a fantastic partnership together. His ball passing is great. He's got a really good eye for goal as well. Like every time he's in the box, he looks the most. He wants the ball the most. He gets in, and as I said, and just defensively, his tackling, his heading, his prowess in both boxes has been fantastic. So I'm going for Sean. I think it's a bit of a rogue shout, but
no, I think it's completely fair. You know, Leicester have had a very strong season. Really, I mean, they were starting to tail off a little bit before the Premier League stopped, but they have been quite competent in defence this season, and he's definitely a solid choice. I mean, I'd be happy to have him in Spurs defence, for example, at the moment. It's a good choice. So my defence.
Left back. I need some left back.
Oh, sorry, mate. Sorry, carry on.
Anyway, Robertson.
Yeah.
I'm called. My surname's Robinson. Everyone calls me Robbo. His is Robertson. We call him Robbo. So we're basically, brothers. Just whatever. But Andy Robertson, he's class, and he's the amount of energy he has. It's quite it's unbelievable when you see him in a match and how quick he can get up the field. Obviously, you've got Trent on one side and Rob on another. 2 assist teams, if you like. Always such a threat. I mean, more threat than most central attacking.
They're definitely the wing backs of any team. You'd want them in any team.
They get into any team in the world, I'm pretty sure. I mean, they'd have competition, of course, but it's quite frightening what Liverpool have on both sides here. So mine is Robertson at left back. So take away with your back 4 then.
Okay. So I've gone for changed it up a little bit. It's still Liverpool orientated, but I've gone for Robertson, Mings, Van Dijk, and Wan-Bissaka. Now,
okay,
I'm going to start off with Wan-Bissaka because I think most people will be quite shocked when I say that. I picked Wan-Bissaka because I think he's gone kind of under the radar at Manchester United this season. Obviously, Man U haven't had the best season, but they really started picking up towards the end. But Wan-Bissaka, he's very renowned right back. He was amazing for Crystal Palace. He was making the tackles, he was making the passes, he was always getting up the field. He's been doing that for Man U as well. But the problem is I feel like it's gone very much under the radar. If you look at the amount of the most passes players have done, you've got Rodri for Man City, Jorginho's up there as well for Chelsea, but Wan-Bissaka's still in that mix. He's still up there. He's with the most. I think he has the most tackles out of any other player as well, from when I last checked. So for me, I definitely have him in my team quite happily. I didn't pick Trent. Trent probably arguably a better wing back, but I think sometimes Trent struggles with his actual defensive side, which I think Wan-Bissaka brings.
Not many people can actually argue that defensively, although I think Trent's improved, Wan-Bissaka probably is a better defensive player. So it's just about the balance of the team, isn't it? But yeah, I think that's not a bad shout. Yeah. He's been crucial in recent run of form. I mean, there's not long turn of fixtures. He's been brilliant.
Yeah. That's why I've put him in my team. Van Dijk, obviously, don't need to even have a conversation about that. He's going in that team anyway. Mings for Aston Villa, I think he's really come into form this season. He's really hit that peak. He's really proving that he's not a Championship defender. He's a Premier League defender. I mean, he's got runs with England as well. So obviously Gareth Southgate's seeing stuff that he's liking. So I would quite happily have Mings in my defence, which is why I put him in there. And obviously,
the only thing I'll say about Mings is I think I agree with you. He's definitely been the best defensively out of Villa, and I would happily have him. I mean, I'm a Burnley fan. I'd happily have him at Burnley. I mean, I reckon you'd probably have him at Tottenham for next season, I assume, wouldn't you?
oh yeah, definitely.
I agree. It's just if Aston Villa were 10th or 11th, I'd agree. But they are 19th currently, I believe. I like without him in that defence, they could possibly be lower than Norwich.
Yeah,
it's just the fact that they're not out of that. They're not. I think that if the season continues, they're going to survive. However, currently they are that low down, but it's up for discussion, isn't it? So
yeah. No, I definitely see your point, but I think in terms of changing up, in terms of having a young defender in there with the rest of them, I think, and who has been quite consistent. I don't think he's made too many like personal errors as his team, which is probably why they're in the position they're in. But yeah, Sharon Mings is going in there, and obviously Robertson, which we've talked about.
we've already talked about.
It's quite clear to me that he is amazing. So I mean, even if Scotland didn't even have him in their national team, Scotland were even worse off than they already are. So for me, Robertson quite easily gets in there for me.
Okay, good, right. So I've got a midfield three. So I'm doing a 4-3-3. Okay.
Yeah.
So
Perfect.
I've got I've got one. I've only got one Liverpool player in, but it's at CDM. I've got Henderson.
Yeah.
And then two other central midfielders, but obviously in a more attacking sense, I've got De Bruyne and I've got Grealish.
Yeah.
So Endo, it speaks for himself. He's every time he's really stepped up this season as a captain. He just looks in control, and he looks to be really loving his football. Like, he's at the part of that midfield, and because Liverpool's midfield, they're not known for their midfield. They're known for their attack and their defence. But obviously, without a really sturdy and solid midfield, they're not getting anywhere. And I think Henderson hasn't had a fault this season. So I'd say Henderson in there as the sort of almost CDM, but obviously he's got an attacking mind as well. He can create some really good passes from deep positions. Moving on to Grealish, I mean without Grealish, Aston Villa, they would be sunk. Every time I see him, he's head and shoulders above his teammates. He's really stepped up as a captain this season, I think, and it looks so effortless for him. And I'd love to see him move on to a top six club to see how far he can really develop as a player. Obviously, talking of Grealish, I'm sure you condone his recent actions.
Yeah, of course. It's stupid what he's done, but I mean, he's put out the apology video, and I'm not gonna go any further with it than that because people are all getting used to everything that's going on anyway. But yeah, definitely not the role model thing we want from our footballers for sure.
As a footballer, it's what we're basing it on. He's in there for me. And then lastly, you've got Kevin De Bruyne, who's just like, I think Man City without him would really struggle. I think he's got joint most goals and assists this season, or something along those lines. I need to look up.
Yeah, most likely.
He's top. I believe with goals and assists this season, and he just looks absolutely class. He just oozes class. Whatever he does, his passing range, his shot, his like technical ability. It's just and I feel quite sorry for him actually, because if City had had someone like if City had Laporte fit all season, I think it would be a very different story. But yeah, so my midfield: Hendo, Grealish, and KDB.
So for me, I've gone Henderson as well. He is the rock of that Liverpool team for me. He's the captain. He's the one that's holding that Liverpool squad together and driving them through. Absolute captain, role for England as well. Obviously, that's what Kane has at the moment, but Henderson would very, very easily play that role for England as well. In terms of Liverpool, he's amazing at passing. He's amazing at direction. He's amazing at finding those balls through to Salah, Mane, Firmino. He has just been quite incredible, and he's been the perfect leader for Liverpool for them to have this amazing season that they had. And it would be wrong if by the end of this year Henderson hasn't lifted that Premier League trophy for me.
Okay.
De Bruyne as well, obviously. He's just incredible. How he hasn't been, in and around a Ballon d'Or yet is amazing. It's incredible stuff to me. He's up there with the likes of, Iniesta or Xavi or any of those likes of Barcelona in their prime, maybe even better. So, I that's a statement I realise, but he is.
That's the time.
He has been, yeah. De Bruyne has been amazing for Manchester City, and when he was gone and Laporte was gone, that's when they were really struggling. So fortunately, to come back and sort of salvage a few points for them. But without them, you can really start seeing the fractures in that Manchester City team, which we see as this amazing team of Europe. But actually, you take out two players. Look, I don't even view someone like Laporte as like this amazing defender. But as soon as you take him out, you suddenly realise how bad the other ones are.
Exactly. Well, you've got often back there. He's just everything he touches at the moment. You feel like it's going to be a mistake. So
yeah. But De Bruyne is amazing. For my other one, I've gone for a Spurs player. Obviously, being a supporter of Spurs, I had to pick one. But for me, he's been our best player. He's been the player which has, got us through some games and everything, and that's Lo Celso.
I was about to say
he's really come out. He took a couple of games, but he's really come out of his shell and he's really grown as a player. And every time we have a game, I watch it or I go on Twitter afterwards and anyone's over talking. Lo Celso was amazing. Lo Celso was amazing. He was the only good player on the pitch. He was the only one playing for our shirt, and that is so true as well. He has been quite incredible. He's been able to hold the ball, find the passes. He's basically taken on the role of Eriksen and Ndombele all at once.
He looks he looks like he wants to lead as well. Whenever I watch him, he's the guy he tries to up the tempo. He tries to make stuff happen. He always looks like he wants to be at the center of what's happening, which I think something that you desperately need. Because I mean, I watched the last game before the Premier League finished, Tottenham versus Burnley, and obviously both of us are on the opposing side. And I was watching Ndombele in that first half, and he just wasn't interested at all.
Tragic, wasn't it? Tragic.
And then Lo Celso, I believe, was subbed on in the second half, was he?
Yeah.
And took the game away. Whenever he got the ball, he was looking forward. He was creating things, and I think he's probably your only player fit that could argue that they've had a good season. Maybe.
Yeah.
Realistically, I agree. He's been a driving force. Yeah. Okay, that's a good shout. I like that. That's good.
Okay. Yeah. Moving
on. So my front three now. A couple. I've got one interesting shout, but I'm going to stand by it. So I've got on left wing Sadio Mane, which I think it's hard to disagree with. He hasn't recently been scoring, but throughout the whole season, his goals and assists is phenomenal. Got Jamie Vardy as striker, and then I have Adama Traore.
Oh, okay, interesting.
So obviously, I'll start with Sadio Mane. He's frightening. Whenever he gets the ball, makes things happen. I'd say if I was a defender, the person I'd least like to face out of that front three is Mane, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Just the acceleration he has, he's like that. He's away, and I think technically he's got like he just keeps on impressing me with how technical like he's getting. Like he looks like he can score goals from anywhere, and the pace in which he can carry the ball is it really is frightening. And I think 11 goals, 9 assists, something along those lines. It's really quite frightening to watch him, and he's the reason again why Liverpool are doing so well this season.
Mm-hmm.
Jamie Vardy, he's just an absolute machine. As much as I dislike him as a person somewhat, because he's just because he's the excuse my friend, he's the best shit house. He's the best shit house in the Premier League. He loves it. If he was in Burnley's team and he was striker, I'd love him. Like we've got Ashley Barnes, you love Ashley. He's that one player that you love. He's in your team, but no one else likes, and no one else does like him. He just is a machine. He's 34 years old, and he's got 19 goals in the Premier League this season.
That's incredible.
Unbelievable, and he just looks. He just on this season. He's on it. It's like it was in the 15-16 title winning side. He's just on it. He's so quick. He's so versatile. He's 34 years old. Like he should be out in America at the moment. You know, just 5 years or China or somewhere, just getting a massive paycheck and loving his life. But he's not. He's stuck with Leicester all this time, and he's absolutely smashing it. So fair play to Jamie Vardy. He's definitely in there for me. And then we move to Traore. This is mainly because of the trajectory of his improvement. Like last season, everyone knew he was dangerous, but he had no end product. He like final ball, exit, etc., etc. So it was from there, and this season he's just like skyrocketed up. Like, I think 7 goals, 8 assists, or something.
Yeah, Traore is like this muscly henchman who's got the pace of Usain Bolt and the strength of someone like Brock Lesnar. It's incredible. It is just you sort of watch Traore and I go, he's dangerous. I'm scared of him. You know, he's dangerous.
The partnership he has with Raul Jimenez, the striker for Wolves, I think he's provided us. I think they've between them got 8. They've been directly involved with 8 goals just between those two, mostly Traore assisting Jimenez. And it's watching him. He's absolutely frightening. The pace he had, the acceleration. Every time I've watched a few Wolves games this season, and their tactic: spray balls out wide to Traore. He takes people on and makes them look silly. Like I remember, especially in that game. I'm not sure if you remember when Wolves were 2-0 down, and beat City 3-2 at Molineux, and he scored a fantastic goal. He set like the strength he had to knock off who was it, Benjamin Mendy on the line and square it for Jimenez. He's just really come into his own this season, especially from what he was last season. Like he was this player that could make an impact but rarely does. He's doing it on a consistent basis this season, and now there's talks of £70 million moves to Real Madrid, to top 6 clubs. So I think for him, for improvement basis alone, he gets into my team. So that is
he's definitely got that best improved trophy this year for me. Definitely.
So go on.
My attacking front three. I'm starting off with Mane as well. I could not pick him. He has been the best of the Liverpool 3 this season. He has been the controller of that attack. He has been the intelligence of that attack. He has been the reason why they were on track to have over 100 points by the end of this season. Yep. He's been quite frankly incredible, and the fact that he may not even get a golden boot out of it is beyond me.
Well, I mean, he probably won't, will he? Realistically, no. Vardy or Aubameyang will probably get it.
And talking of Vardy, he is in there as well for me.
Oh, good.
He has been not quite the 15-16 Vardy, but definitely not far away from where he was. He has been on. He has been chasing. He has been shooting precisely. It has been quite phenomenal to watch him almost go back to his peak again, despite the
At
fact
30,
that
I think that
at
gets
34,
looked
yeah,
at.
yeah,
30 years old. This is where
you
players are.
said it all really. You said it all.
It's incredible.
And obviously, he has been another driving force in Brendan Rodgers' plan for Leicester season, which has seen them be so strong as a team. Up front, as my main attacker, as a Spurs fan, it kills me when I say it, but Aubameyang is up front for me.
Wow. Okay.
He is the only reason why Arsenal are in the relegation zone.
It's very, very true.
He is the only reason. He has been himself as he was the season before, scoring goals, shooting, passing, making chances, working beautifully with Lacazette. If Arsenal did not have him up front, if they had even just Lacazette, I think Lacazette is an amazing player, but even if they only had him as their driving force,
Yeah.
they would be, in around 14th, 15th position. They wouldn't be.
Poor season, hasn't he? Like relatively to what he's done, I think like last 2-3 seasons he's been around the sort of 14, 15 goal mark. I think this season he's only on about 6, with obviously only 9 games left to play. But you are right. I think in terms of single-handedly just getting a team through, I mean, not that Arsenal are in a good position by any means in terms of their standards, but you are right in comparison to where they would be without him. He's really just dragged them through it and been a driving force to so they're not having a seriously embarrassing season, because there was a time when they went on that 9-game winless run where it looked like it could be a very embarrassing time for them. But without him, you are right, with him they've managed to have a possibility, if the season continues, of getting into the top 4, but that's unlikely.
And obviously I wanted to pick Kane, but although he's had a good season, hasn't been the strongest. He's been injured since New Year's.
It's his injuries, isn't it? It's his injuries.
Yeah, it is. It happens it seems to happen every season with Harry Kane. It's amazing start, falls off around Christmas, and then he comes back to see the end of it. But what Spurs especially have struggled up front. Lucas Moura has not been his Champions League self. Son obviously broke his arm in that Villa match, and our new signings haven't quite hit the peak that we want them to. But I don't want talk about Spurs too much. But if I had to pick, if Harry Kane hadn't been injured and had a stronger season, that he would be in there for me instead of Aubameyang. But Aubameyang's been such a driving force for Arsenal. It seemed wrong to not notice it.
Yeah. Okay. Right. Well, so that concludes that. But just running through our teams again. So mine was Alisson, Alexander-Arnold, Van Dijk, Sonku, Robbo. In midfield, Henderson, Grealish, and Kevin De Bruyne. And in attacking, Mane, Vardy, and Traore. And yours was?
And for me, I had Alisson in goal. In defence, Wan-Bissaka, Van Dijk, Mings, Robertson. Into the midfield, Henderson, Lo Celso, and De Bruyne. And then the front 3, Mane, Vardy, and Aubameyang.
Interesting. So, if you're watching and listening, let us know your comments or whatever, what you change, what you might want to do to both teams, and so let us know. Right. Okay. So moving on.
Moving on. Where do you want to go? Do you want to talk about a team that deserves a documentary, something for us to watch in these pandemic times, or do you want to talk about who you'd like to see playing for England?
Oh, this is such a good one. Okay, let's quickly talk about documentaries, I reckon.
Yes.
I think just as a whole, I've watched the Amazon Prime City one, and I've also watched the Sunderland Till I Die one. Both they're two very, very different things, but it's so interesting to see the behind the scenes of both for different like reasons and aspects. I cannot wait for the Tottenham one, which is going to be coming out. Whenever whatever happens with this season, I cannot wait to see what that's going to be like, because there's so many contentious issues like Pochettino, the Dyer running into the crowd, and then obviously hiring Mourinho. There's a lot of things you want a closer, in-depth look on.
Absolutely, yeah. Looking forward to that.
I would love. There's two that stick in my mind. I'm for next if there was to be one next season, an Amazon Prime or Netflix documentary next season, I would love to see a Sheffield United one.
Yes.
If they get into Europe, which I think they will, the way they're going, and obviously this is all dependent on how the season finishes and what they decide. But I would love to see a Sheffield United one on them, possibly in Europe, and seeing this, second season. How's that going to work for them?
Yeah.
And because obviously sometimes teams that have a great first season, second season syndrome kicks in. You saw Huddersfield. Obviously, it's a little bit different because where they were.
Yeah.
So they can drop off a cliff, or they can continue propelling up like Wolves have.
Mm-hmm.
Or I would love to see a Liverpool one, which is quite a basic one. It's quite a basic one to see, but whatever happens this season, it's been such a crazy, weird, all of the above. Like no one can comprehend or predict that the season is in doubt of finishing.
To be honest, you could do a documentary on this season.
All this, this season.
Like the Premier League as a whole, focusing on the stuff that we're going through right now. That would be, something that someone could watch in a year's time and be like, "Wow, I can't believe we went through that."
It's unbelievable. It really is.
I think in terms of teams, for me, I think Sheffield United would be fantastic to see, as you've also already said, especially if they get into Europe, which will be, sort of Leicester sort of storyline again. I'd also like to see a potential documentary on Aston Villa. Considering they're a classic Premier League team in my head, Aston Villa have always been in the Premier League, and obviously over the past few years, they're suddenly becoming this team, a flip-flop team, which is going back and forth, back and forth, back and forth between Premier League, relegate, Championship. Also, I'd love to see Leeds documentary as well if they get promoted to the Premier League. That would be great. Also, Nottingham Forest if they get that promotion. Considering they've been gone for so long. But anyone, I think any team sort of in that relegation promotion battle would be fun to watch, depending on what happens to them. We'll just have to wait and see what people decide. But it's always nice to see what people are coming up with stuff for us to watch.
As I stress, I can't wait for the Tottenham one. I think that is an insight into, especially the Poch, like being there so long, creating such brilliant methods. Obviously, no trophies, but I guess will come into the decision that we might see behind the scenes. Who knows? But
the weird thing is, it's almost when I sat down and watched that Champions League final with Spurs in it, I already kind of knew that we weren't going to win. There's a weird thing about being a Tottenham fan. Whenever you get into a game which is important, you always sit down and you have this seed of doubt. You never really fully trust that you're going to see Tottenham lift a trophy because it's been so long that you kind of just don't expect it anymore. So, and the fact that we gave I put it on I was still in the restaurant. I was still in a restaurant when it started, and I put it on my phone. And what was it, like a minute into it, we gave away a penalty. And I literally turned it off for a little while. I was like, well, that's that then, and we didn't. It was quite a dull game, really. There was nothing. The only two major parts was Salah's penalty and Origi coming on and smashing that lovely goal in at the end. But other than that, it's that and to go from that height of the Ajax game and see where Tottenham are now in that documentary, especially with Pochettino Saka, which happened so quickly, it will be very, very interesting to watch, especially from a fan's point of view like myself as well. So I am looking forward to it, and it will hopefully get us through these challenging times.
Indeed, yeah, I know. Okay, all right. So that's like Netflix and Amazon Prime documentaries. If there were to be more ones, what we'd like to see them on. Again, if you're watching and listening, comment below. See what or let us know what you'd want to see in the future. Okay, then so now let's move on to Euro 2021, although it might still be named Euro 2020, ironically, and who we want to see in the England squad, or people you want to see in the England squad that aren't obvious, like, because there's a lot of people which are dead certs, but like Sterling, Kane, Henderson, all of these guys. So I'm thinking of, I'm going to name, they're mostly all young.
Yeah.
Got a roughly about 5, which I think if they have a good season next season, I'd like to see them involved. I think Grealish is an obvious one, but still hasn't had a call up, and I think he could. I mean, him on top form, feeding balls into Sterling, Kane, it would just be
that would be amazing to watch.
Frightening. I would say Sancho, but he's already got he's already had a call up, and I think that if he carries on performing the way he does, then there's no doubt he should be in the starting 11 for me. What he's doing in the Bundesliga is unbelievable. At 20, I think he's just turned 20, I believe, 20 years of age. And what he's doing over there is, I think he's joint most goals and assists in the top 5 leagues, I believe.
Yeah.
And with 16 assists, 14 goals this season. And I mean, you compare that to any of all of the best players, and he's up there. And to be doing that in the Bundesliga for a team like Dortmund is fantastic. But anyway, so moving on. So this is a bit of a rogue shout, but because he plays for a team which aren't doing fantastically this season, I reckon if he moves to a better team and has a good solid season, Todd Cantwell.
Oh, okay. All right.
Only because he's proved himself at the under 21 level.
Yeah.
He's been one of Norwich's only. Obviously, you've got Pookie, but he's dropped off. Every time I've seen Todd Cantwell play, he looks energetic. He looks like he's trying stuff, and he's so much effort in, and he's got I think it's around 6 goals and 6 assists this season, something like that, which doesn't sound a lot, but for involvement as a left-sided player, that's actually a very good return for a team that's rooted to the bottom of the Premier League. So Cantwell's in there for me, definitely. And
I'm thinking that's a good shout, because I think it's always nice to see in England not, loads of players. It's like, I play for Man U, Man City. It's nice to see teams like Norwich and Villa and things like that.
You want informed players. Like, you don't want players that are like, for example, Lingard. Like, you don't want players who are at big clubs but not doing anything, and you want players playing constantly and in form, which Todd Cantwell has been doing this season. So I'd like to see him. 2 more shouts, and one. Look, I'm a Burnley fan. Right? I'm going to level with you. I want to mention Burnley at least once in this video, so I'm doing it. Dwight McNeil. He is class. I am telling you, he is class. I would love to see him stay at Burnley, obviously, because he's pretty much our only attacking threat on the wings. But he is class. Like, he's head and shoulders above the Burnley team technically. Every time I've seen him this season, he takes players on. His speed is actually very underrated. He's got good speed on him, which I only saw a few weeks ago when I watched Burnley versus Bournemouth. Like, it's frightening to watch. And I think I don't want him to move, but I think realistically, if he was going to get an England team, I'd like to see him move to a top 6 club maybe, or a Leicester, someone like that, to try and develop his game further. Because I would love to see it. I think the way he's going, the way his trajectory, to see him play for a bigger club and get that record and start getting recognition, because I think he deserves it.
Yeah.
Whether or not that will happen, because I think he loves playing for Burnley, because he's always playing and he's the standout player. He's getting the ball. It's probably not, but and as a Burnley fan, I want him to stay. But if we're talking about English and who I'd like to see, then we've got McNeil. And lastly, he's a Championship player at the moment, but hopefully he'll be in the Premier League next season. Got Calvin Phillips.
Good shout.
I think he's a fantastic CDM. I remember. I mean, I watched him against. I've watched him a few times this season, not that many, but the one game that sticks out is against Arsenal in the FA Cup. Although they eventually lost it, he was an absolute rock, and he just looks so calm. And I think if he comes up with Leeds next season, which I hopefully Leeds will, because I think
I think they're pretty confident.
they're known for bottling it. Like, let's be honest, like that's not
of course.
known for bottling it. However, if they do come up, which they should at this point currently, then I think he's going to be a fantastic player for them, and I think will be a big part in keeping them up if they do stay up. And I would love to see him in the England team, because I think like him and Henderson, obviously, you'd obviously pick Henderson at the moment, and you should, but they're slightly different players, and I think if you want a firm CDM that just does a fantastic job at protecting the back four and moving the ball forward, it's Calvin Phillips would be fantastic. So yeah, that is my England shouts. Go on then. Let's move on to.
Okay. Well, I'm going to talk a little about Harry Winks to start off with. I know he's already played for England and he's already had his call up, but I think he deserves a mention. He's been a little bit outshined at Tottenham this season due to Lo Celso playing and Ndombele obviously being our record signing, but Ndombele has not reached the peak that we want him to. So Harry Winks has been, especially in our cup games, he has been almost Lo Celso's little right hand man, playing the defense really well, holding that ball up, finding the likes of Son, Mora, Kane when they're playing, and he has been a nice little gem in Spurs' disaster. But he's been good, and I think he's always going to be a good partner with someone like Jordan Henderson in that midfield. And obviously with Kane being the captain, that chemistry is already there. So I think Harry Winks, even if not starting 11, definitely in that squad, Harry Winks is going to be solid. How old is he?
Yeah.
23, I think.
Yeah, so he's sort of just coming into a time in his career where it's really crucial, isn't it? Like he could excel and get into his peak, which obviously we want to see as England fans, or he could get slightly lost in the top squad. But okay, that's a good shout. I like it.
Also, I'd love to see Pickford be replaced. He has not had the best season for Everton.
Dean Henderson. No, you are right, actually.
It's Dean Henderson for me. Dean Henderson has got to come in. He's been the perfect goalkeeper for United, Sheffield United, and he deserves that call up. He deserves that chance to go, look, you perform this for your club. Can you do it for England? Pickford has a habit of not doing well for Everton and doing okay for England. But the fact about it is, I think Henderson's a better goalkeeper, just in general. So give him a chance, even if you put him in a group stage game or something. Just have him in your squad, have him ready to go, and just let him show you that he can. He's made amazing saves this season, incredible saves.
Clean sheets as well with Nick this season as well. So ironically, there are two English goalkeepers leading the way. Which, I mean, Nick Pope's had a debut. He's had maybe 2 or 3 appearances now, but it's always in Southgate's mind. It's always been Pickford. But ironically, there are 2 fantastic English goalkeepers at the top of the Premier League charts this season. So I agree. Henderson, where Sheffield United are this season, has been absolutely.
I think if you're going to have your 3 goalkeepers, you should be taking Pickford, you should be taking Pope, you should be taking Henderson. Who has the number 1? I think Henderson should have that number 1.
I think he deserves it as well as goals conceded. Like Pope and Henderson are both at the top, and I love Pope. I think he's brilliant. He's conceded a hell of a lot of goals this season. And Sheffield United, comparatively, for their first season in the Premier League, he's if they're losing games, they're often losing them by 1-2 goals max.
Yeah, they haven't been thrashed this season at all.
Never, which is what you expect newly promoted teams to be. But no, Henderson is a very good shout. I like that.
Also going to talk about Mings again as well. Obviously, already had that England call up, but I'd like him to take that more solid role partnered up with Maguire in the centre, because I don't think John Stones is up for it.
Do I? I like John Stones as a player. I think in the World Cup. I really liked him in the fact he was getting it and playing the ball out. However, I agree that he just doesn't fill me with confidence at all. And you are going on players that feel like they're at the top of the game, and you go for Mings. And it'll be interesting to see if Mings moves on as well this summer. If Aston Villa get relegated, I think that's really interesting to see if he does.
I could see Mings quite easy in like a Leicester shirt, or even like a Sheffield United shirt, if they really like hit Europe and sort of go into that sort of role. But I think Mings could play a lot better young role for England now than Stones is, because the World Cup, what we had, I think our defense was really good. You know, Maguire was running, pushing forward with his strength and his ball handling, but Stones and Carl Walker, they don't fit in my vision of an England squad anymore. For me, you're having Alexander Arnold, Maguire, Mings, Trippier. For me,
Trippier,
Kieran Trippier. I think he goes in
at left back.
At right back or left back, whichever one. I'm not sure which way.
Well, no, because Alexander and Trippier are both right backs.
Oh, of course they are. Yeah, but I think in terms of that role, I don't see Carl Walker fitting in it.
Oh no, yeah, agreed.
So if I had to pick, I'd be having Arnold or Trippier in there. Also Grealish, which you've already mentioned. It's amazing how Aston Villa are so low down. They've got some really star players.
They do, don't they? And you are right. It's just that they're failing to sort of connect as a team, aren't they? Like to really gel as a team. But as we talked about, without Mings and without Grealish, they would be below Norwich, in my opinion. Like,
oh, definitely. They just haven't been up to it this season. Yeah, there you go. I think the main one for me is Dean Henderson and Mings.
I think Henderson getting in there is crucial. I think it's crucial that, like, if you just got to give him a debut, you got to try and give him 2-3 games in a row, and not just a one game in a friendly, because or a European, like, you need to give him a substantial little period of time where he can prove himself. And if he doesn't pass that test, then fair enough. But if you just keep on going with Pickford, who's had a pretty poor season with Everton, should we add, like, he hasn't had a good season by any means.
No.
You've got 2 form goalkeepers. It just doesn't send out a good message to the rest of aspiring young English goalkeepers. Well, we're not going to go on form. We're just going to go on a guy that I picked a while ago, and I'm just going to stick with him. So I do agree with you in that.
Okay, there you go.
It went on a little longer than we anticipated.
It doesn't matter. It's good. We had good discussion.
High quality football chat, which is what this is about. High quality, maybe not, but it's football chat nevertheless. And we are talking about it. So the clue and the name is Zach and Alex talking about football talk. All right. So perfect. So that concludes the premier first podcast that me and Zach are doing together during this quarantine time. Who knows how long we're going to be stuck inside for? We got to make the most of it. We got to, get outside, do that one exercise a day, come back, talk about football. Hopefully, we'll do one of these once or twice a week. We're thinking. Roughly.
Yeah, I'm thinking weekly. That would be good, and we'll think of some more football talk to discuss about. But stay home, save lives.
There we go. And clap for the NHS every Thursday at 8 o'clock. Make sure you do that as well. All right, sweet. Perfect. See you guys later then. Much love.
Bye.